Nancy and I thank you so much for coming here this evening for the third play. Who was here for the first?
Woo!
Thank you. The second. The repeat of the first. Who watched it on cable TV? Well, now, I'm glad to say, the final play, because we're not doing it again, Mark. The trilogy, written by Mark C. Bodanza. The first took place in 1801, the second in 1840, and now we delve into the War of 1812 and exactly what the Leominster inhabitants and the drinkers at this fair tavern were thinking and doing in that time. Before we get on with the play, many thanks firstly to the Leominster Public Library for putting this show together. For you for paying such an exorbitant ticket price. You could have seen Blue Man Group. But you're seeing Colonial Fools instead. So to you, thank you for everybody who helped. Sandy Angelini for all the help she did backstage. And Nancy for making the costumes. But most importantly, to Mark Bodanza for making this evening compulsory. Now, he has not written a play. Oh, the players. He has written a play. It's a reading. I should have said this at the beginning of the first two, because people are wondering, why didn't you memorize this? When you hear this, you will realize why we could never have memorized it. But it being an open book play, we didn't need to invite the fire marshal. Don't ask me why. I got a really good lawyer back there. Behind the curtain, which is actually the best place. You should keep your lawyer, I think. So it's an open reading, and it's not really a play. How easy would it be to write a play with a plot and a few murders? We could all do that, couldn't we? What Mark has done is taken a vignette of Leominster at that time. All the passages you hear us recite were written down. Mark has done an amazing amount of research. He's even bought letters written by the characters here and found lines and sequenced them into he's read the newspapers of the day. He's got government speeches and found tracts that actually were recited by the players you're about to see. So it's really a vignette, and that is the mastery of what you're about to hear. The book is a must. I'm so glad so many people have bought the book, because the play is just a vehicle for the footnotes. So please go back tonight and read all the footnotes, and a lot will be explained. Because let's face it, not all of us know what happened in 1812, do we? So we will begin with a little primer, a 101, an 1812 overture. Nancy, enlighten us.
Members of the public were outraged that America would engage in an offensive war. Some of our citizens labeled such a cause immoral. Perhaps we can relate to this today. Defenders of the war cited the cause of the nation's security and decried hostage-taking and the assault on the country's free trade rights. Republicans, supporters of the war, voiced concerns about our borders and foreign influences that had resulted in violence and terrorism. This, my friends, is not a modern American conflict. These circumstances describe the War of 1812, often referred to as America's Forgotten War. In 1812, the United States was a young nation, a loosely bound collection of states, each jealously guarding its own autonomy. During the early years of the 19th century, President Thomas Jefferson, fearing a strong centralized government in control of powerful naval and military forces, depleted the Navy. America was subject to a number of maritime indignities as it attempted to engage in seafaring trade in the midst of a superpower conflict between Britain and France on the European continent and on the high seas. British sailors regularly boarded American vessels in search of deserters from His Majesty's Royal Navy. Many American seamen were illegally or unjustly apprehended and forced into the service of the Crown. However, when war clouds gathered on the 12th Congress during June of 1812, it was not the Federalists who bellowed for war, despite the assaults on their shipping and trade. In a dramatic display of partisanship, the Republicans the party of incumbent James Madison, almost universally supported a declaration of war against the British. The Federalists, who were the most hurt by all the things the British were doing, feared a disruption of their trade, even though it was trade hampered by British policy. They feared a French alliance and the country's utter lack of preparedness or purpose for war, and they flocked to the opposition. The Republican cause was buoyed by a new generation of Southern and Western representatives, now known to history as the War Hawks, who clamored for national respect and redress. These were people who were a little too young when the Revolutionary War was fought, and they were anxious for their taste of glory. And pride was not their only motivation. They viewed British-held Canada as a gun for easy picking in their thirst for new territories and expansion. Removing the British occupiers in the Northwest would both open new lands to the growing country, as well as remove a significant irritant to the American-Indian relations. The British in Canada regularly supplied the Native Americans with arms, ammunition, and incentives for attacks against the nearby American settlers. The coming war created a vitriolic political atmosphere. The Federalists resented fighting and funding a war they did not support, especially since much of the war's impact was felt by their New England and Eastern constituency. They deeply resented the political domination of the Republicans, which was bolstered by the Constitution's 3/5 clause. Remember, that's what permits the Republican Southern states to include their slave population for the purpose of determining their number of representatives in Congress. Each slave was considered 3/5 of a person, and this helped them gather representation in Congress. So ultimately, the war's conclusion would be the Federalist demise. After the peace, the Federalists' opposition to the war was viewed very negatively. The Federalists became scapegoats for military failures, as well as politics that looked like threats after the policies of war. Most of the people you'll see tonight are Federalists from New England. For all the political drama, military risks, and threats to the very existence of the American state, the War of 1812 is vague and ill-defined by history's retrospective. American slogans spurred by the war are as familiar to us as the war itself is not. The war gave rise to our national anthem and rallying cries such as, "Don't give up the ship," and "I have met the enemy, and he is mine." These are familiar things we know, right? We know nothing else about the war. Many people are surprised to learn the British actually got here. They went to Washington, D.C. and burned it down. They were here and razed the White House in 1814. This forgotten war that never inspired the imagination to title it anything other than the War of 1812 is important because it helped form the foundation of our national identity. Closely linked with that identity was a destiny that would include a doctrine for continental expansion and the creation of cultural and economic nationalism. Before this, we didn't have one money, one currency. We didn't have a national bank. We didn't have a lot of things. It was just loosely, almost like separate countries. So this is a very important war. Someday, the territorial expansion, nationalism, and sectional differences would eventually, inevitably collide to create the bloodiest conflict on American soil ever. But that's another story. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my lovely children. Actually, these are Katie and Paulette and Callum, who can go off stage. I'm Sally Kendall, and this is our tavern in 1812, October 14th. There should be a bearded fellow around here somewhere. This is my husband, Jonas Kendall. He has served in the state legislature as both a representative and a senator. And he also owns a paper mill in town.
I do that.
He's a tavern keeper as well, although we know who does all the real work, right? Joining my husband is our local lawyer and incumbent congressman, Abijah Bigelow, as well as a gentleman from down the road, Joel Crosby. Mr. Crosby was formerly the proprietor of the Lamb Tavern in Boston, and during the Revolution was a guard to His Excellency General Washington. The gentlemen are likely to be engaged in a discussion about the war declared against Britain last June. Many New Englanders are opposed to this war. Sacrifices already made are expected to become much worse. Attorney Bigelow, who spoke against the war from the floor of Congress in June, is preparing to go back to Washington very soon to take his seat in the second session of the 12th Congress.
Abijah, soon you will depart from Washington and face the momentous business of our country.
Jonas, we have labored long in the work of government, but what will our efforts yield?
It seems, gentlemen, we are again at war, and our citizens risk life, limb, and liberty.
We now look to our military leaders and can only hope that they will serve with the distinction that our friend, Mr. Crosby, witnessed as part of the late General Washington's Guard.
The funding of this war has been most inequivocal.
Double duties on imported goods has impacted New England most acutely and permitted those merchants already holding inventories to increase their prices without a cent of benefit to the public treasury.
Points that you made with some eloquence from the floor of Congress, Abijah, in the last session.
Yes, your speech, Congressman, is a bit ironic, and I quote, "In opposing this measure, I am not advocating the interest of the merchant, but the farmer, the tradesman, and the mechanic. I am not willing that the people whom I represent, in addition to the taxes they must pay to carry on this war, should also pay an enormous tax to the merchant. Where, I ask you, are our Republican brethren in defense of the farmers they so profess to represent?"
Gentlemen, what about a round of cider?
Oh, well done, lad.
I must caution you, Inholder, assuming that appellation continues to exhibit the attributes of mature drink, we shall all too soon feel the effect of nature's chemistry.
Oh, nonsense, Abijah. Our good inholder here, as past chairman of the Convention of Delegates from the congregation, formally resolve that we will, to the extent of our power disconsonance, every inholder in retail who shall allow disorderly persons or inhabitants of the towns in which they live and who are disposed to excess to remain in their houses or shops at improper hours, and that we will promote the appointment of and do all we can do to encourage in these places the friends of sobriety, order, and religion.
I'll drink to that.
And I'll tell Joel.
But I have the greatest faith that you fellows will conduct yourself as gentlemen and friends of good order this evening. Sally, please refresh our guest's mug, unless, of course, their thirst has abated.
Well,
I think not.
We need mugs.
I'll find mugs. It's a rather dark cider this evening.
Oh.
brilliant.
Brewed in Dublin, I do believe. It's an import. All imported.
The Massachusetts General Court has missed your Federalist principles, Jonas.
Especially given the other lack of integrity that Democratic Republican like Mr. Jerry had so boldly demonstrated.
Now, last winter, Mr. Jerry supported an Essex County redistricting map. It looked more like a salamander.
That map has earned him the epitaph of a new monster species, the gerrymander.
Oh, take notice, gentlemen. It appears we are now joined by Mr. Jonas, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Perry.
Johnson Perry.
Mr. Perry.
Come on.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Good to see you all.
Councilman.
Good evening, sir.
Johnson.
Yes. Ah, goodness gracious.
Gentlemen, your impending attendance to national affairs, Abijah, the fellows now compromise the entirety of our local bar. Bloody lawyers.
Sorry.
Sally, can you bring Councillor Johnson and Councillor Perry some refreshment?
Please.
I'm sure the rigors of their legal practice have earned them a bit of evening leisure.
Sir, given that I'm the only Democratic Republican in the room, I doubt the evening will be one of leisure.
Maybe not, Asa. I can only hope that my associate, Mr. Perry, has had an industrious day. And more importantly, will continue my practice vigorously while I'm away.
Yes, sir. I hope your journey will be safe and comfortable for few weeks.
You'll have important business to attend in Washington.
In addition to the war, we now face politics and a critical presidential election.
This war creates critical issues.
Well, methinks that our war is the product of national politics.
Mr. Crosby.
Yes, I was giving that some great thought. The war is dedicated to the self-interest of the war is dedicated to the self-interest of the Republicans and their political ally.
I can see the labor of your thought process. Aye, this is Mr. Madison's war.
Then maybe Mr. Madison should fight it.
Yes.
Yes, and he may well soon. And soon enough when the British and the warships are sailing forth into Chesapeake Bay.
Sally forth.
Gentlemen, please, your political rhetoric obscures the plain fact that our national integrity, nay, our national sovereignty, has been threatened by the British.
Yet there, sir, the Republican administration ignored diplomatic efforts that were not far from bearing the fruit of success.
As the sole Republican of this group, sir, I inquire of you, good Federalists, who shall provide your leadership in the presidential election this fall?
Why, Mr. Madison shall fail in his bid for re-election, and Mr. Clinton shall prevail.
A rather preposterous notion.
My dear sir, your political prognostication is perhaps no better than your own success at attempting to achieve political office.
Mr. Kendall, you are quick to note my failed attempts to secure election as one of Leominster's 2 representatives to the General Court. But be assured, gentlemen, our fair town is no friend to the Republican Party. And it isn't now either.
My colleague, Attorney Johnson, was defeated in 1810 by Elijah and Mr. David Wilder by nearly 2-1.
Yes, quite true. But the margins of victory by myself and Mr. Wilder over Councillor Johnson in 1811 was thin. 8 votes and 7. Let's say with that respectively.
Have the Republicans gained support elsewhere in this Commonwealth and throughout the country?
Well, Albert Sherry, our Republican governor, was defeated in his re-election attempt last April for his scandalous redistricting.
Yes, but once again the local vote margin was slight. Mr. Jerry's tally was only 10 less than Mr. Strong.
And now the salamander, no, the gerrymander, seeks the vice presidency.
Fair enough, gentlemen. But just as how the election of Mr. Clinton served the Federalist purpose, I see not any genuine connection between Mr. Clinton and the aims of your own party.
Oh, Mr. Clinton will bring this unjust war to a speedy conclusion.
Ah, nonsense, Jonas. Mr. Clinton is no more inclined to end this war without a complete military victory than Mr. Madison. And I am, unlike you fellows, quite thankful for that.
Aye. But Mr. Clinton and other inhabitants of New York understand commerce. And this war is no friend to the cause of commerce.
In the West, Mr. Clinton is championed as a friend of the war. In the East, he's a friend of peace. Well, he cannot have war and peace at the same time. You know, I think what we'll do right now is a bit of a play.
What?
Play. Fucking word.
Play within a play?
Play with a play.
How confusing is this?
Okay, let's see what we've got. Please bear with me and allow me to entertain you with a short piece from Worcester's National Aegis, just published last Wednesday.
Oh, landlord, before we are thoroughly entertained, perhaps a wee drink to dull the pain.
Aye. Go find Sally.
My dear
Sally,
Sally. I'm sure that the words of this following play haven't been uttered in more than 190 years. Somewhere, the author of this American drama is probably smiling over this fact, clearly unimaginable to him during his life. Nevertheless, we shall rely on the words to explain some of the politics of his day. Okay, let's see what we've got.
All right.
Peace Body Man.
I'll take that.
Put it on, sir. Federalist.
It's you.
That's me. That's you. You look alike. I don't know why that is. Democratic Clintonian.
Mr. Clinton.
I guess I'll be the good Republican.
You are the Republican.
You have no choice.
Oh, okay, gentlemen. Rev it up.
We're reading from a dialogue between Peace Party man, a Federalist, and a Democratic Clintonian. I'll be the Peace Party man.
Yeah, you can see that.
People at the back. Mr. Clinton claims that the presidency are very strong, and at this period we must have peace made immediately. And I am authorized to say that the election of Clinton would directly lead to it. My guest?
Zounds! You don't mean peace without reparation of our wrongs. You've mistook the matter altogether. I am authorized to say that on the election of Clinton, the war will be carried on with vigor and effect. The war is just and necessary. We must have Clinton to manage it.
Peace Party man. Aye, you may believe that. He would manage it with a vengeance. To let you, my friend, a little into the secret, this talk of Clinton's war's talents a mere gull trap. To catch such of the war hawks as may be necessary to carry out the point. Policy, you know, is allowable in all cases. I tell you, wit is pledged to procure immediate peace.
And I tell you, you will find at your leisure who's the dupe. The gull trap was set to catch blinder birds than we, I can assure you. Mr. Witt knows the war's proper and will prosecute it to its effect.
I apprehend you are mistaken, sir. The true ground on which Mr. Clinton is entitled to support is that he will restore the Washington or federal policy. It is some sacrifice to our pride, to be sure, to coalesce with you. But the end justifies the means. Our friends have made advantageous terms with Mr. Clinton, and you undoubtedly will be treated as well as the ulterior scope of our policy will permit.
Peace Party man.
Democratic Clintonian.
Together.
Your policy, forsooth,
A miserable, dwindling gang, a mere make-weight to change the balance, a set of blundering conspirators who have lost all chance for popular confidence, except by the most ridiculous, short-lived schemes of delusion, a set of tyrannical, usurping, plotting.
Hush, gentlemen, hush! Pause! For heaven's sake, pause. As Governor Morris says, what does he say? These ebullitions of passion are extremely natural when you endeavor to mix such discordant materials. Pray, give over the hopeless process. Mr. Clinton formerly commanded a fair portion of respect for his talents and his political orthodoxy. To you, Mr. Federalist, no man was more obnoxious. Has he made private avowals of having changed his sentiments? Then he is a hypocrite, and he is a deceiver. He has made no such pledges. Then you are the most debased and groveling of sycophants to lick the spittle of a man who has denounced you as treasonable conspirators. By you, gentlemen, this man was respected not more than by myself. I admired his general talents. I admired his able and industrious discharge of duties as the mayor of New York. I admitted his reputed humanity of temper and amenity of manners. I had a prepossession in his favor. I had a strong, ardent attachment to the character of his venerated uncle. Doesn't sound quite right. But he was ambitious and I watched him. I found the papers in his employ suffused with the most malignant abuse of the general government and its supporters. I found him coalescing with Federalists goodness, and joining the private coterie of the Friends of Pickering, I found his agent swarming through the country, preaching to one that he was a peace man, to another he was an efficient man to manage war, justifying the disgraced commander,
Quiet.
that they might cast censure on the administration. In short, I found two, unequivocally, to the lust of rule. He would sacrifice every manly and ingenious principle, and that great as were his merits like Burr, that sin by which fell the angels easily beset him. Pardon me a little longer, gentlemen. Do you not see how totally opposed are his claims to the conference of you severally? He cannot reconcile contradictions. He cannot have war and peace at the same time. He cannot pursue the policy which each of you are taught to expect as the consequence of his elevation, for the simple reason that he cannot perform impossibilities. For one, I tell you plainly, as I always did, to test intriguing ambition as the most dangerous enemy of a republic. If the first office in America is to be a mere matter of barter, management, or exchange by a New York convention, the people had better at once make it hereditary. I would infinitely rather know my situation in a monarch than talk of a republic and live under a managing oligarch.
Very well, Asa.
I would prefer...
Very well, Asa, very
You
well.
would not interrupt me.
I think they've had quite enough. Nevertheless, your political antics have long neglected diplomacy as the answer to this long and simmering crisis, I'm afraid.
Yes, Joel. My tenure in the state senate included many attempts by the Republicans to derail, dismiss, and defeat a multitude of attempts at diplomacy.
Gentlemen, do we sacrifice our national pride to the indignities heaped on us by the British? I say nonsense!
Counselor. No one can characterize Mr. Crosby's standing. He served admirably as a guard to His Excellency George Washington.
Thank you, sir.
Washington.
Now departed nearly 13 years.
Huzzah!
Washington.
It is. Huzzah.
And because Washington always loved a little snuff, gentlemen, I have some imported from Scotland. Yeah, just a little pinch
Quite
there.
expensive, I
Between your cheeks.
Snuff, boys.
We used to call it stuff. Oh, stuff.
This war, which I opposed vocally from the floor of Congress, Councilor Johnson, is more about political power than the dignities practiced on the high seas. My Western colleagues like Mr. Clay see a destruction of Eastern commerce with Great Britain as a sure way to destroy the Federalist Party.
The Republicans have long taken aim at Eastern commerce, as we keenly know. Our town has not forgotten Mr. Jefferson's embargoes.
And petitions against such measures were duly authorized by a vote of our town meeting.
We cannot defer our national to the altar of party.
Electioneering will continue. Mr. Johnson, certainly you have not forgotten the John Henry affair.
Nay, I think it is your Federalists who want to forget about Mr. Henry.
The Irishman, Mr. Henry, linked no Federalist, no, not a single name, to any untoward connection with a British agent.
Quite right. And for the most routine of information, Mr. Madison's administration paid for the enterprising fellow some $50,000.
$50,000. An electioneering trick calculated for the meridian of Massachusetts.
And witnessed by you, Abijah, at official Washington from the floor of our national capital.
So,
My friends, whatever your opinion, we are at war. I propose we toast the victory of the Constitution and their commander, Isaac Hull.
Fair enough, Excellency. Captain Hull's defeat at Guerriere is a significant victory for us all.
Yes, and I hear tell that the frigate Constitution has discharged its prisoners just last month.
at Boston.
Really?
Yes.
Jonas tops off his guest's glasses and raises his own to Captain Hull.
Thank you, Jonas.
Captain Hall,
Captain Hull.
just for the whole of it.
Yes, sir.
That stuff is good stuff. Thank you.
Mr. Perry's first time with a snuff.
Officer.
Mr. Perry's where?
To Hull!
To Hull!
To Hull!
To Hull!
To Hull! Huzzah!
Let's go drink.
Well, we are now reminded of your own naval exploits as a privateer, Counselor.
Yeah. True recall.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
it's time to come off the snuff.
Just say no.
All right.
Just say no.
Just say no.
Aye, aye, aye. The cause for independence led not only to Mr. Johnson's capture, but also his escape and the capture of a British vessel.
A prize, the bounty of which you know well, and you put to good use, Asa.
Indeed, my friends, the money financed my education at Harvard College, the fruits of which I have shared with all the local towns
For which we still pay.
as this place's first practicing lawyer.
For a fee, my friend.
That fee helps finance the purchase of paper at your mill, sir.
Good point.
That's true, Mr. Jonas. How does the business of your mill proceed, sir?
Well, we survived the devastating fire 2 years ago, as well as the trade embargoes. Now we will survive this war.
Is the restoration of the mill complete, Joe?
Well, the restoration is fully complete, Joel, and we now have the additional space made available by Mr. Taylor's vacating the old woolen mill in favor of a new building for his carding machinery.
I see. Mr. Taylor has brought a great deal of experience from the British woolen mills, has he not?
Yes, he has. In fact, I assisted Mr. Taylor with his American citizenship,
Well done.
permitting the investment of the new mill.
Mr. Perry, I trust you will continue my law practice with the utmost diligence in my absence.
I will continue to be your obedient and faithful servant, sir.
Thank you very much.
You know, Perry, I'd like to quote from Benjamin Franklin's Poor Richard's Almanac, May 1757.
Go for it.
Work as if you were to live 100 years. Pray as if you were to die tomorrow. Dance as if no one was watching. Sing as if no one was listening. Kiss as if you'd never been loved before. Work like you don't need the money. Interrupt me, somebody. Interrupt.
Sally! Sally! It's gone off again!
Originally only 2 lines.
Well, anyway, when do you depart for Congress, Elijah?
I plan to depart for Washington on Friday, the 23rd day of October.
Aye, and to our friend's safe passage.
Safe passage.
And thence the remains, and thence the remains of our local bar, Mr. Perry and Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.
Thank you,
Cheers
sir.
to you.
Councillor Johnson, I have no better understanding of your political affiliation than I do of your dining eccentricities.
Yes, and what delicacy do you partake of this evening, kind sir?
Roasted snake this evening, Mr. Perry.
Snake?
Snake.
Snake? My good sir, a lawyer eating a snake. Wouldn't that be capitalism?
Well, we need to be praying for it.
Lawyers and laymen alike, we must drink to that. Huzzah.
We told that joke in 1801. We're still on the class. We're still
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
I'll go on, Mr.
Okay,
Johnson.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
we're now going to ask you to please retell the pollywog anecdote.
Well, I told it 4 years ago, but I'll tell it again tonight. Recently, a young lawyer at the Worcester session asked me quite publicly if I'd ever dined on stewed pollywog. I informed him that while I had not, I had doubted that such a dinner would prove injurious to me. Yet just as emphatically, I declared that the same meal would be a disaster for him. Abandoning the art of cross-examination, the fellow asked me a question to which he did not know the answer. Why? To which I responded, because it is well known and appreciated that stewed pollywogs kill goslings.
I didn't get it then, and I don't get it now.
You know what a gosling is.
Pray tell, are these dining habits the cause of your Republican affiliation or the results?
Nice one.
The cause of liberty, national identity, or diet can never be bland, sir.
Maybe not, Asa, but why do you frequent this den of federalism when landlord Hale maintains his tavern and Republican ideals but a few doors from your home?
A fair question.
Landlord Hale was appointed a delegate to the Republican convention, along with Asa. A convention that nominated Mr. Madison for president and Mr. Jerry for the vice president this past September 1st.
That's Sullivan again.
He's Sullivan. He's a
That's
slipper.
Sullivan. Perhaps Mr. Johnson enjoys the heat of debate. Thou wilt not argue that our government rests on a free and unrestrained exchange of principles.
A thing moderately good is not so good as it ought to be.
What?
Moderation in temper is always a virtue, but moderation in principle is always a vice.
And yes, a war involves in its progress such a train of unforeseen and unsupposed circumstances that no human wisdom can calculate its end.
The Leominster Artillery Company, raised by authority of the Constitution and in the wake of the insurgency of Mr. Daniel Shays, lawlessness not supported by our townspeople, stands at the ready.
And stand ready it did.
Well, do that.
I should.
Should.
Now.
Yes.
As you stand.
There's
Stand ready! It did. Our amendment threats of invasion from France were echoed in 1796.
And we stand ready upon this hour.
Huzzah.
I feel a song coming on.
I feel it too.
A war song by Mr. Clifton, as reprinted in the National Aegis, Wednesday, September 2nd, 1812.
Not Bill Clinton.
No,
Clifton.
Clifton.
Mr. Clifton.
Clifton. A war song by the late Mr. Clifton. Shall we do it justice?
Yes.
Possibly has not been sung since 1812. Let's see if I request for the by request. Song of Columbia, quenchless spirit come, unroll thy standard to the sullen sky.
Bind on their war robes, beat the furious drum, rouse, rouse thy lion heart, and fire thy eagle eye.
Dost thou not hear the thumb of gathering war? Dost thou not know the insidious foe?
He oaks her gaunt wolves and mounts her midnight ear. Dost thou not hear thy tortured seaman's cry?
Poor helpless souls in dreary dungeons laid, towards thee they turn their dim, imploring eyes.
Alas, they sink, and no kind hand to aid. Thus dost in every son of thou
Shall rest in guilty peace no more, with noble rage they pant to join.
The conflicts beat, the battles roar. Loose to the tempest, let the banner fly. Rouse, rouse thy lion hearts, and fire thy eagle eye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
My name is... I am fine. How are you? I'm a bit chilly, but... My name is J. Henry Kendall, and I was born right here in this home on December 1st, 1795, while George Washington was still our president. I grew up here. I played in the fields, I worked the family farm, and I especially enjoyed climbing the Monusnock foothills, which are right behind me, especially South Monusnock Hill, where I enjoyed the vistas. Eventually, I would learn my father's trade, that being the art of paper making, and I would prosper both here and in Springfield, Massachusetts. My father always taught the value of education and learning. So I, too, have a mind to support the proper advancement of our community. It's quite fitting that you good folks should join me here tonight, since I too knew the value of a good public library. I envision that someday I will be able to give to this town the funds to build a proper room library. Well, tonight, you will witness just a little bit of my schoolboy years. But 50 years hence, I will make good on my promise, and I will give to this town the funds to build a room onto our town hall for a truly public library. Thank you.
Well, my dear friends and Federalists, I'm not so happy to report that James Madison was re-elected president and Elbridge Gerry, that slimy salamander, won the vice presidency in December of 1812. During the past 2 years, the war has dragged on. With the exception of some naval successes that will enshrine the frigate Constitution and heroes like Oliver Hazard Perry, who famously utters, "We have met the enemy, and they are ours," little has been accomplished. The war is raged without purpose, without plan. Expenses in connection. See, I leave the kitchen for 2 minutes. The expenses in a tavern, as well in connection with the war, strain our country's treasury to the breaking point. Trade restrictions have effectively closed the entire East Coast to maritime trade. This dramatically affects our nation's economy, but especially here in Massachusetts, we're really feeling the pinch. August of 1814 witnesses the British invasion and occupation of Maine. During the same month, the British invade and burn our national capital. Popular political sentiments among the Federalists especially are at an extreme low. Some Federalists begin to ponder radical political reforms that threaten the secession of New England from the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the second and final act of this play is set at the Kendall Tavern on September 2nd, 1814. Some of the town's local leaders have gathered to discuss the events of their time and the challenges facing their nation. This meeting, 2 years hence from that you saw before, can be expected to have the same divergence of opinion, which seems to be the case throughout most of the country at this time.
This is a calamity.
It's a crisis as serious as any as we have ever faced.
Yeah.
Radical action is being proposed in many quarters.
Pijah, you're born witness to this failures of the administration.
Aye, field programs and military embarrassments.
What will you find left when you return to Washington, kind sir?
The business of government will continue, despite the damage to nearly all of the government buildings.
I understand that the President's house, the Capitol, the Library and Congress are all damaged and uninhabitable.
Quite true. We will call the next session at the Patent Office building. It is the only public building left.
The papers already carry resolutions to move the Capitol.
The Republicans will never permit it, Jonas.
I have heard that the Library of Congress may be replaced by the government's Library of Congress. May be replaced by the government's purchase of Thomas Jefferson's 10,000 volume library.
Yeah, sure enough, the handmaiden of Republican politics purchasing. At what price? The library of the architect of the party.
George Washington founded the Capitol after a 7 years war with England, and James Madison lost it in only 2.
Gentlemen, the local bar calls.
Fine. We are joined by attorneys Johnson and Perry once again.
Ah, fantastic. Unfortunately, I only have 4 glasses left.
Thanks, sir.
No snuff for you.
Good evening, sir.
Councilor Johnson. Once again.
Johnson.
Good to see you again, sir.
How are you?
Oh, not too bad for you.
You haven't changed a bit over the years.
not using the cane anymore, though.
Councillors, have you had your evening repast?
Oh, no, kind sir.
What about you, Mr. Perry?
No, I could use a little modicum of victuals, sir.
Sally, please bring our friendly Mr. Johnson and Mr. Perry their evening meals and a touch of good port to wash it down.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Little port, sir?
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Delicious to you.
Right there.
Boston chicken.
Thank you.
Not your accustomed fare, Mr. Johnson.
No, sir. I'd much prefer a roasted owl or to this more common poultry. Nevertheless, I appreciate your hospitality, Mr. Kendall.
My pleasure, sir. Eat up. Everybody wants to see you dine.
Oh, it's always a pleasure seeing me die.
I ask you,
Is it warm
gentlemen,
enough?
I ask you, gentlemen, how long can our falling economy provide any bounty? Trade is at a standstill. Our ships rock the wharves and the government is nearly bankrupt.
Mr. Crosby. I'm sorry, Dougie. You know better than anyone we must persevere.
Persevere, sir? While the national government invests millions of dollars improving Western roads and populating Western lands with troops and provisions? I think not.
Well, it is certainly not lost on our Federalist friends that those very places that support this damnable war are those regions that most benefit from its prosecution.
Oh, the public credit suffers.
Aye, Jonas, Treasury notes and war bonds are selling at such deep discounts.
The investors and money changers can well afford the sacrifice, sir.
Sacrifice, sir, extends to all of New England.
My friends, this embargo is repealed. Fear that war with England would create an alliance with the French has abated. Napoleon has been defeated. I recall Mr. Dwight's comments, the horrors of war compared with the French alliance, a mere amusement. The touch of France itself is pollution.
Jonas, I see your sons now join us.
Please,
Somewhere.
young man, come and share the fruits of your education with us.
Use a little fruit here.
Boys, how are you?
Jay Henry, nice to see you. Joseph,
See you.
good evening.
Grab a seat by the
How are you?
fire.
Good to see you.
Good evening.
Grab a seat here, son. Good evening. Let me take your hand.
Aye, my Federalist friends could benefit from fresh minds.
Good evening, kind sirs. Councillor Johnson. I have realized that my Master of Arts from Harvard is only a start to a life of learning.
Fair enough, young man.
Father is keenly interested in education.
As you well know, Jonas
Was that smart?
has been appointed to town meeting along with myself and Joshua Chase as a committee to inspect the several schools.
Joseph, tell us, what did you favor most of Harvard?
Why, the library, of course.
Library.
Mr. Crosby, we all know and appreciate the importance of books.
Books?
Yes. Yes, brother, consider Shakespeare's sonnet. Knowing I'd love my books, he furnished me with mine own library with volumes that I prized above my dukedom.
Reverend Gardner's social library is all too insufficient for the proper education of our town's inhabitants.
On this we do agree, Mr. Bigelow. If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be.
That's true.
Perhaps the establishment of libraries open to all of our citizens is a worthy charity.
I agree, gentlemen. Might we raise our mugs to free and liberal education?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
free and liberal education.
Cheers, I'd like to that. And the concomitant education of Federalist, nay, moral principles.
Jonas is correct.
Yeah.
The war is morally repugnant.
Yeah, pray, sir. And how do you conclude the protection of our neutral rights is immoral?
Mr. Johnson, The war is a guise for the taking of Canadian territory and the enhancement of the Republican faction.
Gentlemen, the good Reverend Gardner was correct in his discourse. Offensive wars shall never be undertaken, nor defensive wars, unless there is a plain necessity for it, such as the Revolution. We are involved in a tremendous war. And how shall we get out of it? We should consider that our evils, suffering, derive their origin from moral evil. These evils must be reformed. Then, penal evils will be removed.
Yes, but the Republicans have gained nothing from their offensives towards Canada.
Nor should they.
Our states raise militia who will not leave our borders. Just how can we tolerate such a thing?
Counselor, our High Court has ruled that Massachusetts militia can only be called to protect the borders of our own state.
Yes, and given the fix that we are in, they must now do just that.
Correct. The British Navy menaces our entire coast.
The District of Maine has been invaded.
The Port of Boston is in danger.
I think the innkeeper's...
That order from the battalion commander, our Captain Tenney, is imminent.
Imminent.
Imminent,
Thank
sir.
you, Joe. Captain Tenney's company numbers some 41 men, including himself and Lieutenants Carter and Snow.
Well said.
Given the circumstances of the coast, the call to arms is inevitable.
Boston must not suffer the same fate as the Maine District and Washington. Captain Tenney and our local men are ready to protect our citizens and our commerce.
Ah, what's left of our commerce?
Father, Mr. Taylor calls.
Mr. Taylor's perspective will be interesting.
Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Taylor.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, landlord.
Just joining us for the discussion.
And my wife, this is the company of your dear wife.
Is that Mrs. Taylor? Oh, please, Mrs. Kendall. How are you, dear? I'm well. How are you? Very well. May I assist you? I'm making gingerbread, of course. You are. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Kendall. I will leave Mr. Taylor in the company of these fine and esteemed gentlemen. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, as a former British citizen, your view of this war is different from anyone else's in this room.
Perhaps, Mr. Taylor. Do you favor the Republican cause, the war, or their party aspirations, Mr. Taylor?
Do you favor either, sir?
Do you rightly think, sir, that I could favor a party that identifies itself as French liberal? Bloody nonsense.
Well then, the war, sir. What about Mr. Madison's war?
How can any of us support the ruination of our own trade and commerce?
The sacrifices of which you speak, Mr. Taylor, are to be short-lived.
Nonsense, Asa. Trade and commerce are not the cause nor the effect of this war.
Then tell me, sire, what is?
The Republicans want to join southern and western states in an expansion of party that will forever relegate us in the East to a position of inferiority.
Well said, Abijah. The Republicans want nothing short from a complete demise of our Federalist Party.
Given true.
A federal crisis looms.
And a convention of New England Federalists is planned.
What shall be the object of this convention?
Constitutional reform or else.
And what be the leverage for reform, sir?
Secession from the Union.
Preposterous!
Maybe so, Mr. Johnson, but disaffection grows daily.
Mr. Timothy Bigelow is said to be the most radical of the potential delegates, sir.
Your relative, Mr. Bigelow?
Yes, Mr. Taylor. My cousin, who had a law practice in Groton, where I clerked for Mr. Dana there in 1795. Mr. Timothy Bigelow is leading the charge in Hartford.
What does this convention have as its object?
Well, at least two major points.
Yes, sir. First, the end to the practice of counting slaves as 3/5 of a person for the purpose of apportioning representation in Congress. Secondly, the requirement of 2/3 vote of Congress to declare war, interdict trade, or admit a new state to the Union.
It will all come to naught.
Maybe so, Mr. Johnson, but I still inquire of Mr. Taylor. Do you think that the British could have negotiated with to avert this war?
No, sir, the British cannot be trusted with American trade so long as there is war with France. Americans' rights must be subservient to
Well, do you have an attachment to any party, Mr. Taylor?
As an entrepreneur to capitalism.
There is no shame in capitalism, sir. It will be the engine of this country's economy.
Nevertheless, capitalism must always be subservient to knowledge.
And this must be chief among the goals of the new republic.
On this we do agree.
Education makes a people easy to lead, but difficult to drive. Easy to govern, but impossible to enslave.
Gentlemen, I see Mrs. Kendall. Mrs. Taylor have come back to refresh us with gingerbread, more cider.
Cider.
Ladies, we are engaged in a discussion of the necessity of education for the survival of this republic.
Ah, gingerbread.
Oh, goodness gracious. Very nice.
I would love some darling. Thank you. Very nice.
Enlighten the people generally, and tyranny and oppression of body and mind will vanish at the dawn of day.
But shall we enlighten all of the people? Perhaps our republic will best prosper if we ladies, the tutors, the homeschoolers of our future leaders, shall have the same advantages in education as you men.
Mother, your notions are truly enlightened.
Well, perhaps visionary would be a more apt description.
I'm afraid you may be correct, Mr. Perry.
Nay, nay, ladies. Yours is a delightful task to rear the tender thought, to teach the young ideas how to shoot.
You are correct, Mr. Kendall. And your remarks at the Washington Benevolent Society last January duly noted a woman's responsibility for educating this republic.
Thank you.
Jonas, the presence of we ladies at the society meeting was most gratifying.
It is clear that our present crisis and the future of this republic will depend on the extension of education throughout our society.
And public benevolence must include great collections of books.
True, sir, the greatest of universities are no better than the qualities of their libraries.
And I envision the establishment of free libraries by charitable-minded individuals who understand the benefit, the necessity of education as the greatest defender of our liberty.
Here, here, brother.
Yeah.
Let's drink to your vision.
Huzzah!
Library right now.
Library.
Huzzah.
Liberty cannot be preserved without general knowledge among the people who have a right and a desire to know. But besides this, they have a right, an indisputable, unalienable, indefeasible, divine right to that most dreaded and envied kind of knowledge. I mean of the character and conduct of their rulers.
The preservation of our liberty and the restoration of peace and prosperity to our shores will only be accomplished by the practice of virtues consistent with the benevolence of our illustrious Washington. I quote, "Let your morals, like his, be as pure as the gold which has passed 7 times the furnace. Let envy, malice, and revenge have no place in your bosom. Never suffer your passion to do that which on reflection your reason would compel you to reject. Then by your exertions the general welfare will be promoted."
My friends, I cannot ascribe to all ye Federalists the same motives of money. Nay, some who gather at Hartford or else, who want to be inns, refer to the belly book. Some are mere dupes of the agitators. Be assured that the cement of this union is in the hot blood of every American. I do not believe there is on earth a government established on so immovable a basis. Our nation will prevail and prosper on the great foundation on which it was founded. Liberty. Liberty and the pursuit of truth and all that which is good.
To liberty! Cheers!
Raise your mugs, boys!
Liberty! Liberty! Liberty!
Abijah Bigelow returned to the ruined capital to commence the business of the third session of the 13th Congress. During his return on September 14, 1814, Francis Scott Key composed a verse while imprisoned aboard a British ship, recording the British failure to subdue Fort McHenry, which was an obstacle to the capture of the city of Baltimore. That verse became the source of the lyrics for our national anthem. In December, a convention of anti-war Federalists met in secret session at Hartford, Connecticut. In the midst of this convention, as well as during General Andrew Jackson's preparations for the Battle of New Orleans, British and American negotiators meeting in Ghent reached an agreement on Christmas Eve. The agreement, which became the Treaty of Ghent, essentially provided for the resumption of pre-war relations. So after all that struggle, basically nothing had changed between the combatants. Lacking news of the agreement, Jackson won a stunning victory over the British at New Orleans that assured the Senate's ratification of the treaty. While the peace treaty itself provided for little, the war had many consequences. A new spirit of nationalism emerged in the United States, while a great expansion westward commenced. Relations with Great Britain normalized, and the Democratic Republicans consolidated their political gains. The Federalists, our boys here, who were identified with the radical resolutions of the Hartford Convention, which proposed changes to the Constitution, including the repeal of the infamous 3/5 clause, which permitted a slave to be counted as 3/5 of a person for the purpose of determining representation in Congress. They were thoroughly discredited. The Federalists never again were a political force in the country. Nevertheless, the Democratic Republicans adopted many Federalist policies, including proposals for a national bank, a uniform national currency, a national university, a system of national roads, and a protective tariff. What survives this war, obscure to most modern Americans, are notions, policies, and a thirst for expansion that had a dramatic impact on our national identity. It is in some way fitting that this same war provided the inspiration for our Star-Spangled Banner. We were no longer a collection of states, we were a country. The War of 1812, a forgotten conflict, changed America forever. The experiment that was our early republic was over now and replaced by an emerging nation poised to encounter internal challenges and poised to take an important place on the world stage.
On the shore, dimly seen through the mists of the deep, where the foe's haughty host in dread silence reposes, what is that which the breeze, or the towering steep as it fitfully blows, half conceals, half discloses? Now it catches the gleam of the morning's first beam, in full glory reflected, now shines on and stream. 'Tis the Star-Spangled Banner, oh long may it wave. And where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country, should leave us no more? Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps' pollution. No refuge could save the erring enslaved from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave. Oh, thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved home and the war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace. May the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause is just. And this be our motto, and God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Oh, sailors, that star-spangled